Hey guys, Zeramus555 here, coming to you guys with the Herald of Ultimateness deck profile. It's really just Herald, because there is still Perfection in here. I love Herald. I just love summoning a monster where you just get to say negate. I think negate's like the funnest word in the game. Pretty much just, you say it and your opponent's like, oh, I can't play Yu-Gi-Oh! This deck has an amazing matchup against pretty much everything. Oddly enough, the worst matchup is actually Mermails, and that's because if they build their chain link properly, they can pop Herald with infantry, and I can't negate it. So that's probably my worst matchup. This deck does lose to Solemn Strike or Notice or whatever it's called. Obviously because it's a counter trap, so you do need some protection against that card, otherwise you lose. But overall the deck's really good. I have some really cool cards in here. I kind of just aim for Gale Dogra win. Excuse me, but I mean, if you don't open Gale Dogra, this deck's still very consistent. And yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy the deck profile. I do want to get this up to 30 likes. That should be no problem for you guys, because I always have a good amount of subscribers liking my content, so that's awesome. And then I will have an updated SYLVAN deck profile for you guys. I love this deck. It's so fun. I took apart Mage Pendulum because that deck's boring. It's just kind of the same thing over and over again. And like SYLVANs actually require a lot of thought. And this deck actually is a surprisingly good matchup. You can OTK through Cosmos and stuff too, which is pretty awesome. Just because Aurea doesn't target, so that's pretty amazing. But yeah, anyways, without further ado, let's get on with the deck profile. So we'll get these out of the way, and we'll get started. So 1, 2, 3, Herald of Ultimateness. This card is just so much better than Perfection in every single way. Like, I love Perfection. I love the card art. I love how it's alti. Kind of guilty of that, much like Alan Theo, who I know loves altis. I love altis. I'm sad they're not going to be making them anymore, but I mean, it is what it is. This card's just better because, of course, the 3,000 defense. Most big monsters that decks summon nowadays are 3,000 attack tops. There's very few cards that do get over Herald of Ultimateness. And the biggest problem I had with Perfection was, like, even though he's easier to summon, he does, unfortunately, have only 2,800 defense. And that means that a lot of cards can run over him easily because they don't have to activate monster effects to summon big, or card effects in general, I should say, to summon big monsters. So Leo was always a problem. Once Leo came out, it pretty much wrecked this deck. Like, if they could summon Leo without activating monsters effects, I just lose, because it's just, I can't get over it. This guy can negate Leo, this guy can negate Pendulum summons, this guy can negate XYZ summons, everything. He's amazing. The only issue with this card, obviously, same with the original Herald, is he cannot negate the effects of cards that are already face up, or have been activated on the field. This is just because he says he negates the activation of a spell card. He doesn't say spell effect, it's just a spell card. So a spell card activates on activation, and then the effect activates separately if it's a card that is continuous, such as a field spell or a continuous spell card. So yeah, unfortunately for that, that is an issue for this deck. It's always been an issue for Herald. But that's why we do run like rank 4 engines to pop potential cards that are going to give us a hard time. By the way, I should mention this. You guys probably just heard my PlayStation 4 in the background. If you guys want to add me on PlayStation Network, I'd love to add all and any of you that want to add me. My PlayStation Network is ZEROMUS555. Surprise. So yeah, if you guys want to add me on PlayStation Network, just shoot me an invite and just put in the description thing that you're a fan of my YouTube channel, and I will make sure to add you. So moving on. Oh, actually, I'll keep those there. You guys know how I like to do my profiles. The one Herald of Perfection. So the reason I'm playing this, and a lot of people I see, like Alan Theo doesn't play this in his Ultimateness build, I think that's, personally, I think that's wrong. Just because what ends up happening is if you draw 2 Gyakutenno Megami, you do pretty much lose. Because like your whole deck really relies around summoning this guy. So if you have 1 Herald of Perfection in the deck, it gives you a prep target, which is really good. So more consistency, more searching. And obviously, if you do draw 2 Gyakutenno, you can still summon this off ARA, off the 3rd Gyakutenno, and then you can, you know, potentially still win the game, which is obviously what this deck does. It just negates, so you do need those. Just 2 Kristyas. I was running 3. I don't like 3. I find it clogs. I'm already running big monsters that can potentially clog your hand. This deck does rely a lot on normal summoning as well, and outside of the Herald of Ultimateness Gale Dogra play, I don't actually have a instant way to summon Kristya, so I don't really like that. I just find that, like, if I open double Kristya, you're really limiting your plays. And since Herald of Ultimateness does negate special summons and stuff now, I find Kristya is not as important as she used to be, but this card can still totally blow out games. So I think playing her at 2 is the perfect number. 3, Manju, the 10,000 Hands. That's pretty staple. I mean, it is a watermark. It is a ritual deck, so you do need to play a triple Manju. The next card, obviously, is the Brokenness, Gale Dogra. So what the combo with this is, if you guys are Herald fans, you've probably seen this on Alan Theo's channel. Me and him have been playing Herald, I think, for probably the same amount of time. We've been playing it since it came out. I love Herald. But we never played this card before, just because we didn't actually have Herald of Arclight. Now that this card came out, what you can do is you summon Gale Dogra, you pay 3k, you dump a Herald of Arclight, and you can add a ritual monster spell, and it's not once per turn. So since this is an old card, of course, Konami screwed up with that. And you can pay 6k, basically dump 2 Herald of Arclights, and then you have a Advanced Ritual Art and an Ultimateness in your hand. And then if you activate those and you have Kristya in your hand, you have 2 fairies plus the 2 Gyakutennos is 4 fairies altogether, and that makes enough to special Kristya. So it's first turn special Kristya, you add back on the Gyakutennos, and your opponent is like, okay, I'm staring down an Ultimateness, an Archlord Kristya, and then 4 potential fairies in hand. Really powerful. I want to open this in my open hand. This deck does lose really hard to Effect Veiler, unfortunately. I mean, if you get Veilered, you lose. It's not a big deal. It's like, whatever, okay. That's what this deck is. It's just go deep. Summon Herald, and then just make your opponent miserable. Which, I mean, these kind of decks are fun every once in a while. So I am playing now the Star Seraph engine because these cards finally went down in price and they're affordable. Yeah, so this engine's amazing. Obviously, it gives you an 1800 beater, which is great to search out the chairs. But also, of course, if you open Stick Chair, it's kind of broken, just for the fact that like you're drawing more cards to give you more negation for Herald. You can make a potentially big monster that can pop cards, which also is one of the downsides of this deck. It lacks destruction. And of course, I mean, it's the Star Seraph engine. It's kind of stupid, and they're all fairies, which is amazing. So next up is the Spirit Engine. I'm just playing 1 Aratama, and a lot of people are going to be like, that's really bad, why are you playing that? Just 1. You should be playing 3. When I used to play this deck, I always noticed that, like, 3 was really cloggy. Like, if I opened 2, I just automatically felt like I lost, because what ends up happening is if you summon the 1 and you don't open this card with it, you don't have a first turn XYZ, so you have to, like, summon or set the 1, and then you just pass. This card's amazing if you already have Herald on the board, like you top deck this and you can start summoning it every turn and then searching potential negations. But outside of that, it's really lackluster. It's also a dark and it's also a fiend, so it's not a fairy. I can't discard it, so I don't want to draw it. It's kind of like you want to draw it, like I said, after you already have Herald set up so you can draw into your potential spirits. So triple Nikitama, this is the best spirit. There's some really cool combos you can do with this if you already have another fairy monster on the board. What you can actually end up doing, which I really like this combo, is say you have Manju on the board, you could potentially draw 2 cards off of Fairy Cheer Girl. That's a tongue twister. Because what you do is you have the Manju or the fairy, say like it could even be a Star Seraph, or what's his name, Scepter? Scepter, yeah. I just call him Stick Chair. Yeah, and what you basically do is you just, you already have the fairy on the board, level 4 fairy, and you summon Nikitama, and then you're going to summon another fairy monster, it doesn't matter, or another spirit monster, pardon me, it doesn't matter what it is. And then you're going to overlay with the Nikitama and the other level 4 fairy monster, and then you're going to detach the Nikitama off Fairy Cheer Girl's effect, and you're going to draw a card off Cheer Girl, and then since Nikitama went to the graveyard while there's a spirit already up on the board, you do draw another card. So you end up drawing 2 cards off of Fairy Cheer Girl, which is amazing. It just fills up your hand. And then if they don't get this off the board next turn, you're drawing another card extra on top of your draw phase next turn. Plus the spirit monster that you extra summoned off this will go back to your hand. So you're basically just filling up on negates on that point. And it's really strong. Of course, there's also the Izanami Nikitama combo, where if you have a Nikitama in the graveyard already, you can, and you have a Nikitama in the hand, you can summon Izanami, you can pitch the Nikitama from your hand to add the Nikitama that was already in the graveyard. You have to make sure you add back the right one. You can't do it with the same one because Nikitama must be in the graveyard to resolve. And then you add back the other Nikitama, and then this one that you pitched off of the Izanami, I should say, it will draw you a card. So you can just keep +1 in every turn, because this is going to go back to your hand anyways, and you just like slowly gain an advantage off that. So the Spirit Engine is just kind of like an advantage engine. It kind of keeps you in the game, because this deck can lose advantage from time to time. This is my new tech card. I saw this in another deck profile. I'm not going to take credit for this. Some Spanish guy, I can't remember, but this card's amazing. I had a blowout against what's his name? A Pepe player. He first turn summoned a Churia Beast. He didn't know what I was playing. First turn summoned a Churia Beast, Rafflesia, or Rafflesia, or whatever you want to call it, and on King of the Feral Imps. And I was like, okay, well, I opened up Asura Priest, and I opened up Honest. And I was just like, well, I'm going to summon the Asura Priest, and if he bottomlesses it with the Rafflesia, I lose. He didn't know what I was playing at that point, so I summon the Asura Priest, and I wait for him to activate Rafflesia. I'm waiting, he's thinking, I can tell he's thinking. This is on Dev Pro, and it's like not giving me the chance to do anything yet, and then he doesn't do anything. So I like attack his Naturia Beast, I drop the Honest. This goes up to a 3,900 attack. I swing over the Rafflesia, and I swing over the King of Feral Imps, and he's just like, wow, that just happened. This card's amazing. It's not just the fact that it's broken with Honest. It's a Susanoo, so you can attack every single monster your opponent controls. It's really good against Pendulums. It's level 4, light. It's also a fairy, so that's amazing. This card's so good. Anybody who didn't think of playing this card, I don't know who that guy was who thought of playing this, but I thought it was genius, and it's been testing really well. Overall. The other cool thing about it too is like with Nikitama, you can summon Nikitama, summon Asura Priest. You can Asura Priest like Honest, or just run over a whole bunch of monsters, and then overlay afterwards and still have a follow-up play after that. So that's really good. So yeah, of course, the double Honest. This card's at 3 in OCG. If this card comes up to 3 in TCG, I don't think it's going to happen, but if it does, it'd be pretty awesome. This deck would be a little bit better. Then the last 3 fairies is, of course, your 3 Gyakutenno Megami, and of course I have a playset of the Ultras because they're super sexy. Yeah, this is the only good vanilla monster in the deck. Like, if you're playing a different version, you could play, like level 4s and stuff too, but I don't like that, because then you're potentially drawing more vanillas. You don't want to draw these. You do not want to see these, and like I said, if you open 2, you're like, please don't draw the 3rd, and hope I can get to Herald of Perfection and not get killed by something like a Leo. That's pretty much what you gotta do. So that is 30 fairies, and then the last 2 monsters is double Maxx. I wasn't playing these, and I decided to put them in because I just noticed playtesting against Brendan that if I don't go first, this deck you always want to go first. If I don't go first with this deck, I can lose really hard to a big board, so this makes it so your opponent has to stop, and it gives you a higher chance of drawing into your stick chairs and stuff. The only downside, of course, is you increase your chances of drawing Gyakutennos, but once again, it all balances out because you are playing 1 Perfection, so you can still keep yourself in the game and win off of stick chair and spirit combos. So that's it for the monsters. We'll get those out of the way. I believe it's 32. On to the spells. Just 6 spells? Yeah. Triple Dark Factory Mass Production. Now, some people might be like, whoa, that's way too many. It's actually not. This card's broken. It's a +1 that gives me an extra negate with Herald. And if some of you don't remember, like I said earlier, when you activate Advanced Ritual Art to summon Ultimateness, you dump 2 fairies. So this card's always live. If I open, like, I either want to open Gale Dogra in this, or I want to open Gale Dogra in Kristya. But this is better because it gives me extra negates. It's just so good. I mean, this is better too because if I don't open Gale Dogra, unlike Kristya, if I open, say, a Manju ARA and an Ultimateness with this, I still have plays. Because if it's just the Kristya with that combo, I can't summon the Kristya. My hand's going to be pretty short because I'm only going to have 3 cards in my hand after that. And that's not enough. Like, this will give me 4 compared to 3. And 4 against your opponent can be the difference between winning and losing, because this deck can let your opponent activate Pendulum Scales. You don't care, because they're going to activate the Pendulum Scales to minus to Pendulum Summon, but they can't Pendulum Summon because you negate with Herald of Ultimateness. So that's really important. This card just gives you advantage. It's an amazing top deck. I've won so many games top decking this card, and I absolutely stand by the fact that I think you need to play 3 of this card. 2 Advanced Ritual Art. I would love to see this card come back to 3. I think it should be back at 3. I don't know why it's still at 2, but I mean, it is what it is. We could see... I ordered one more super because I kind of feel like it's potentially one of those cards that Konami could put back to 3 on the upcoming list, so we'll see what happens. And then the 1 prep. Just consistency adds Herald, and yeah, stops you from losing if you open double Gyakutenno. And then for the last 2 cards, I'm playing double Royal Decree. I was playing 2 Twin Twisters testing online. The issue I had is like Twin Twister's good because you can pitch dead Gale Dogras out of your hand, but then the other side of that is that if I don't have something good to discard, it ends up just being a 2 for 2, and if your opponent has something that's chainable, you just lose anyways. I like Twin Twister and MST in here because they're faster than Royal Decree, but I like Royal Decree because it negates everything, so I don't have to hit the right card. And the one card that I'm the most afraid of in this game right now is Solemn Strike. Solemn Warning doesn't do anything to my deck, it's Solemn Strike. That card is stupid, it needs to go to 1, and I'm sure it will happen because we all know that every Solemn card generally gets hit to 1 or apparently banned, so... Well, not every. There are Solemn cards that are still around. Counter Trap Solemn cards. Except for Solemn, what's it called? This one, Scolding. Can't think of what it was called. So on to the extra deck, guys. I'll get through this really quick here. Not going to explain too much. Double Arclight, you do need to play 2. 3's too many. 1's obviously not enough. That's a stupid thing to say, but it's true. You just need 2. It's just there for the Gale Dogra combo. I had one person actually ask me one day, why aren't you playing Instant Fusion? And I was just like, because you can't summon this back. And they're like, well, yeah, but you could bring back Manju. I'm like, well, I can't, you can't, some people are going to ask me that too, like, why aren't you playing Instant Fusion? First of all, paying 1,000 life points is steep in a deck that I'm already paying 6,000 just to summon 1 monster off of. That's ridiculous. I don't want to be, like, too low, because I leave the Gale Dogra in attack position, and if your opponent summons a monster that's bigger than 2650, you lose. So that's really important to remember. Of course, you're going to be like, oh, well, you can just negate that big monster with Herald. There are cards in the game that you can summon, and I mean, they can obviously plow through my hand if they have the right cards, and I just don't want to lose to something big. The other issue, too, is that you can't bring back this card off of Norden because it wasn't successfully synchro summoned. So keep that in mind. I can't special back Spirits, and the only good card, really, that I could Instant Fusion back would be, like, Scepter. But, I mean, I'm not always going to have Scepter. So I just feel like Instant Fusion is not needed. It's too steep a cost. The one Deltaros, I probably am going to play Ouroboros. I did order one. It's on the way. Because it's only like $2 now, which is awesome. But, yeah, I usually always will do Deltaros over Ouroboros, but if I go first, open the Stick Drawer combo, and I want to potentially draw into Summoning Herald, I'll always do Ouroboros because it puts me in a better spot. And, of course, you can use the Scepter's effect to pop your own cards. If you draw a card that's potentially dead against the deck, you know it's not going to do anything. Like, say you draw an extra, a second copy of Royal Decree. You can, like, set one of the decrees, pop it, and potentially draw into something else. The one XYZ, Dark Rebellion XYZ Dragon, this card's just really good because it gets over big monsters. One Utopia, stopping attacks is obviously really good. One Karen Gorgon, this card's, I think, crucial for breakthrough skill. So if your opponent has a breakthrough skill in the graveyard, this can take cards or effects that activate the target when exactly 1 card in the field. So if they have breakthrough skill in the graveyard, I have a couple cards to get over breakthrough skill because this deck does lose to it. Basically what you can do is summon this with your Herald of Ultimateness, and if they activate Breakthrough Skill and Herald of Ultimateness, you can detach and change the target to this, which is really cool. So in that case, they don't actually negate your Herald, which is important. 101, 1 Castel, 1 Diamondar. Paladynamo is really good. He does target, unfortunately, so you can't get over like the big Cosmo guys, but yeah, anything that draws you cards is important because you want to just keep your engine flowing. The 1 Fairy Chirurgle, so good. I summon her more than every other XYZ in the deck. 1 Abyss Dweller, poops on BA, and obviously Mermail, which is my worst matchup. If you want to get this out against Mermail as soon as possible, if you can, otherwise you'll lose. Cowboy, Rhapsody, that's my other out to the Breakthrough Skill in the graveyard. And then the 1 Herald of Pure Light. So some of you are going to be like, how do you summon this? It's rank 2. There are times where you'll summon your Gale Dogra, your opponent doesn't kill it, you draw another Gale Dogra, and you're like, well, I have something pointless in my hand, like a 3rd Gale Dogra, or something, or a Gyakutenno I want to put back in the deck. So you can just, like, you know, overlay with double Gale Dogra, and then you can go from there. So that's the deck profile, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed. Kind of a long one, but I mean, I haven't done a Herald deck profile in so long. I figured you guys would probably want explanations on why I'm playing what. Give this deck a try. Let me know if you guys figure out anything that you like better. ratio-wise. I think I wouldn't say perfect. I don't think a deck's ever perfect, but I think that this build is really optimal for the current format, and I think it's a lot of fun to play if you like making your opponent miserable. I love this deck because Brennan just sits there with a smug look in his face, and I'm like, well, that's what you get for playing meta, bro. And yeah, he doesn't have a good time all the time. Although, once again, playing Mermail, I get thrashed, so that's a bad matchup. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and let's get this video up to 30 likes, and I'll have the updated SYLVAN deck profile for you guys. Thanks. Peace.